I'm Mike Rizzo.
And I'm Michelle Rizzo.
And this is Northwest Brew Talk. Welcome to Northwest Brew Talk, episode number 56. Each and every week, we promote the Washington brewing industry by talking to those people involved in drinking Washington beer. With over 300 breweries, we try to highlight as many as possible every episode. If you're new to the show, we suggest you check our back catalog with some great interviews and lots of Washington beer. This week, we have an interview with Populuxe Brewing, our brew news, and local music from the masses.
If you have any comments or questions, please send us an email to nwbrewtalk@gmail.com. We are on Twitter at nwbrewtalk and on Facebook at facebook.com/nwbrewtalk. If you like the show and want to support us, share our link and tell your friends on social media. It just takes a few to start a revolution. To start the show, let's open our first beer.
Okay, this is Local Lager from Everybody's Brewing.
Everybody's Brewing is located in White Salmon. They are open Tuesday through Sunday. They're local lager, light and crisp. This unfiltered lager is spiced with saws and golding hops. A slight sulfur note comes from a slow cold fermentation using their common ale yeast strain, which is in the lager category. 4.8% ABV, 26 IBUs, and an untapped rating of 3.39.
Okay, we don't do a lot of lagers because most places won't do them because it takes too long for them to make. But this is really light. Nice head on it, though.
Yeah, nice head, too. Definitely.
Definitely a malty flavor.
Yep, you can taste those malts. It's not a real strong flavor, but it's good.
No, yeah, it's a lager. It's, for people that like lagers. Most of the beers that we drink and most of them that are made in, especially in the Northwest, are ales, which that's where you get all your hops and stuff like that. These ones... This is good. If you're looking for something definitely different, this is just a straight-up lager, which you get from some of the bigger brands.
Topping this week's news, this Saturday, March 5th, American Brewing Company will be celebrating their 5th anniversary with a party from noon to 5. From 1 to 4, they will have food, and from 2 to 5, live music. Also on Saturday, Whitewall Brewing in Marysville will be celebrating their 2nd anniversary with 5 barrel-aged beer releases, as well as 8 other beers on tap. They'll have a food truck, and the party runs from noon to 9. The 2nd annual Vancouver Spring Brew Fest takes place March 18th and 19th at Esther Short Park. They're going to have beer and whiskey, as well as food and a free throw contest, and have March Madness on a large screen TV.
Specialty Competitions LLC is proud to announce the return of the Washington Beer Awards, the craft beer competition designed specifically to support Washington's professional brewers. This is the 4th year for the Washington-only competition that provides an opportunity for all of Washington's craft brewers to compete in a blind judging format and fosters recognition of brewing excellence in Washington. In 2015, more than 100 breweries submitted over 700 beers to the competition, spanning over 100 styles from the Brewers Association Beer Style Guidelines. More than 130 awards were presented recognizing brewing excellence in the state. The 2016 competition is expected to grow with additional entries and award categories. The competition will also recognize Breweries of the Year who receive multiple awards in various categories and also feature special awards for a Best Washington Agricultural Product-Inspired Beer and a Best Washington Malt Beer. This year's competition will include a Pro-Am category recognizing collaborations of homebrewers and professional brewers who have scaled up homebrewer recipes for production on a commercial scale. Registration began on March 1st and runs through the 31st. Winners will be announced at the Washington Brewers Festival in mid-June. Details can be found at wabeerawards.com.
Bushnell Craft Brewing Company will be hosting its 2nd anniversary party and pig roast on March 19th, 2016 at the Bushnell Craft Taproom in Redmond. Another week and another 3 or 4 beer lists have appeared. This week, we bring you 5 beers from across the nation that are redefining local from CivilEats.com. Author Kat Wolininsky chose 5 beers, and Pike Brewing's Pike Locale Copeland made the cut. Why? We'll let founder Charles Finkel explain. Quote, "For the first time in modern history, a beer is named varietally, just like wine is named varietally. A Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon, for example. This is a Skagit Valley Copeland," unquote. According to Finkel, Pike is the only brewery using only local Washington state-grown and malted barley, and they're the first to use the Alba and Copeland varietals. Awesome to see Washington continue to push the boundaries in beer. Craftbeer.com also has a new list, the 2016 Great American Beer Bars Competition. 9,000 readers responded to create the best beer bars in each state. Craftbeer.com readers were asked to nominate their favorite craft beer bar in the state and fill out a short survey about what makes it so great, including atmosphere, staff, beer selection, and special events. In Washington, the winner was Parkway Tavern in Tacoma.
Congrats to them. All right, in 2015, Bartell Drugs teamed up with Fremont Brewing in Seattle to create a special beer called Spring Elixir for their 125th anniversary. It sold like hotcakes, and Fremont brewed another batch for them. This year, Bartell Drugs is teaming up with Two Beers Brewing in Seattle to release Tangerine IPA. The beer will be available at most Bartell locations and at Two Beers Taproom. The beer will be released on March 4th at the Taproom. Fremont Brewing also announced the launch of the Dark Heron, an exclusive brew created as the official beer of Emerald City Comic Con 2016. Featuring a female superhero lead, the beer was created to tap into the swell of comic fans descending on Seattle for ECCC, but will appeal to beer lovers of all types. The beer will debut on March 9th at the Fremont Brewing Urban Beer Garden. And that's it for the brew news this week.
Welcome back to Northwest Brew Talk. If you want to submit news to Northwest Brew Talk, send us an email to nwbrewtalk@gmail.com. If you've not yet subscribed to our podcast, why not do it now? It's free, available anywhere you listen to podcasts, including iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, and TuneIn Radio.
Now, let's talk to Peter Charbonnier from Populuxe Brewing in Seattle.
It's interesting how everybody does it a little bit differently. You know, it's one thing that's really come home to me since opening the business is that not to think too hard about the way other people are doing it, because it's a mystery to me, right? Because I'm sure they look at me and they think the same thing, like, how are they doing it? Like, why are they doing it like that? You know, other people's business is just an enigma to me. Like, I don't know if you won the lottery or if you're just a masochist, or like, it just doesn't make any sense.
You mean like the $2 million up front to open a brewery, those kind of things?
Those kind of things, or the opposite end of that, where it's like, well, I'm gonna open a half-barrel brew house and I'm only gonna sell kegs.
Yeah.
Well, good luck, you know, but that's crazy. Yeah. So other people's business is something I try not to think about too much. I only have to focus on my own and make sure it's working for me.
So when you started, did you have a plan? I mean, did you know what you were going to do?
No, absolutely not.
Did you have business experience?
No.
Running a business?
Nope. No. I mean, business experience in that I had a sole proprietorship consulting firm, tech consulting firm, where
it's almost the same.
Basically, I was just trying, right, almost the same, exactly. Yeah, it's just me and a laptop, and you know, I send out a bill every now and then, and that was it. There was no this. So no, I mean, I think that the plan when I first started was just the barrel and a half brew house that you see there. I had 3 barrel and a half fermenters. I've got 5 of them now. I still have those. I still use them for small one-offs and things like that. But the plan was just to open a brewery. That was the extent of the plan. Open a brewery, and then my friends will have some place to come and drink beer, like more beer than I can make on a little 5-gallon.
Right. You were a home brewer then?
I was a home brewer, yeah. I was a member of the North Seattle Homebrew Club.
Okay.
That club had a lot of people in and out of it for a long time. Matt from Fremont was in that club, was Adam from Rubens. Barry from Lucky Envelope.
So it's
Annie
spawned a
Johnson.
lot of breweries.
Yeah, so it was around 2008, 2009, and we all sort of were in the same club, homebrew club, and all sort of, I don't know, literally drinking the same poison, and all wanted to basically open our own breweries.
Right.
And as we talked about it, some people did it more quickly than others, and Kevin, actually from Northwest Peaks, also in that club, Russell from Bainbridge Island. But it's funny just how many people from that club kind of spired out and started doing their own thing. But we all had different thoughts around how we would do it, and for me, the thoughts really didn't get much beyond, hey, I'd like to be able to get slightly bigger pots and move out of my garage into a slightly bigger garage. And that's basically what happened. And then throw a picnic table in the middle of this room. I had a 3-tab kegerator. I didn't have a cold room.
Oh, okay.
So I just had a 3-tab kegerator that I had plugged in, and there was a picnic table in there.
Okay.
And we had this wasn't here. There was no cold room. I was like, I don't know what I was thinking, but I wasn't thinking.
Because you just wanted a little place where your friends could hang out.
Right, yeah. So I had 3 beers on tap when we opened, 3 beers at a time. And then I had a kitchen refrigerator back here where the next keg was being kept cold, so that I could roll it in and put it in the... Yeah, it was... and we
so
learned...
you had an extensive business plan.
Exactly, yeah, totally, yep. We learned pretty quickly that day, because the day we opened up was the same day that Peddler opened up.
Oh, really?
And so people heard, hey, there's 2 new breweries opening in Ballard. Let's go check them out. And I felt like standing out on the sidewalk, like explaining to people, Peddler is a little bit bigger building than us, and there might be more room to walk around and stuff. And I actually at the time wasn't even thinking about the beer garden, and it just didn't even occur to me. But as soon as people got beer, they basically came out here.
Oh, really?
Because it was so tight in there, and they just started standing around outside. Because thank God it was a nice day.
Yeah.
But,
so they gave you the idea for the beer garden?
Yeah, they gave me. I'm like, oh, we should put some tables and stuff out there, and then people could sit outside.
Yeah.
So slowly over time, basically, the business plan has been to just take everything that comes into the business and then roll it back into the business. To run the brewery with no debt load, and basically just have it fund itself.
Okay.
And again, that's just because at this scale and at this size, and we were very fortunate that we were able to do that. A lot of folks trying to do that, trying to save up money for a 7-barrel brew house, you're going to be brewing on the 1.5 for a really long time.
Yeah,
but we were pretty fortunate here in that the tasting room drives a lot of our traffic, and so we did fairly well this first 3 years, and we've been able to expand up to the 7-barrel now.
So you opened in 2013? Then?
2013, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when did you put the 7-barrel in?
I think I brewed on it the first time in November. November of this year.
So it's new?
Yeah, it's new. And because our space is so weird, we had to get it custom made.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's made by a local fabricator down in Vancouver.
Nice.
And so, but that fabricator had a 10-month lead time.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like you're committed to this, and then it doesn't actually show up for a year, and you're not brewing on it for a year. You're still brewing on the old stuff, but you're still...
Yeah, because you're one of how many people in line to open a brewery or expand.
Exactly, yeah. And the fabricators are having actually a hard time keeping up with demand at this point. So
I see you have an extensive barrel program, too.
I do, yes. I have a barrel. It's... actually I have 2 barrels.
Oh, you have 2?
Yeah,
okay.
You can't see the other barrels in the grain room.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, this one up front, it's a sour. I mean, there's a winery across the street, Delmonico Cellars, and so I work a lot with Jason over at Delmonico, just in doing different stuff, talking, business and things like that. And so this is one of their French oak barrels. That was a Merlot barrel that I got from them that I soured. This is the 3rd beer we've had in it now. Okay. And it just sits in the tasting room there. Yeah. And then once a year we empty it and we have a sour beer.
Yeah. Sounds pretty good.
It lasts 2 weeks, maybe, and then you got to wait another year. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to start doing some more some kettle sours on the small system.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the reasons why. I mean, even though I could fit another table or two where it is now, I think I'm just going to hold on to it for as long as I can because,
Right.
You're only making three kegs off of it, so you can do a little bit more experimental stuff. And so I'll try that. I'm looking forward to trying that this year.
Yeah. So, what kind of beers were you brewing when you were homebrewing?
Hoppy beers.
Hoppy, yeah.
Basically, yep.
That's what you like?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I think the CDA that we have is the basically the beer that I brewed the most of.
Okay.
I was really interested in that style when I first started homebrewing because it was brand new and it was different and it was sort of open to interpretation.
Okay.
And so I started trying to make a CDA, Cascadian Dark Ale, Black IPA, what have you, that was, on par with what I could get in a bottle shop or a brewery.
Okay.
I probably could have saved myself maybe 40 brew days if I had just instead focused on making an American blonde.
Okay.
Right when you start out, like that's what you should make is a consistent American blonde ale. And if you can do that, then you have your process and your technique and your fermentation and everything down pat.
You went a little harder to begin with?
And I was like, well, I'm going to make the best CDA ever. And so, yeah, eventually I feel like I got there. But yeah, it's definitely the one that I brew the most of.
Is it?
Yeah.
I thought I heard that it was gone. Is it possible?
It could be, yeah.
Yeah.
It could very well be, yeah. I've got some in the tank now. And then I've got to brew it again next week because we're actually, I have a bottling run scheduled
Oh, okay.
for the middle of February. So right around February 20th, right around when the Washington Brewers Open House happens. But it's in the end of February is when our bottles will be released. And I'll have IPA and CDA.
Are those your first bottles?
It's the first bottles,
Is it?
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So we got Mobile Bottling Source will just come in and set up the machine here and then run us off 200 cases of beer.
So you excited about that?
I'm excited to see what it's like to sell something different, because right now all we do is kegs and maybe 15% of our actual production is sold out as kegs to bars and restaurants.
Most of it's here?
Most of it's here.
Yeah.
So having the bottles, it's a different way to get the name out there, different way to get the brand out there. The labels look really cool, and I'm really excited about the beers. So it'll be different, and I don't know. We'll see if it takes off. Then that'd be great because. And again, I have no idea because I've never done it before. But
Right.
I assume that it's easier to slog around a couple of cases of beer than it is a half barrel.
Yeah. You would like to do
So, I'm just thinking about my back and stuff in the future.
Yeah, you're stumbling right now, right?
Yeah.
You have an injury now?
Oh, yeah. Well, I blew my knee out over the weekend when I was skiing, so that...
Carrying a keg would not be...
No,
very good,
that's probably not going to be too much fun, but
Yeah.
it's too late. I already have accounts, so they're going to happen. But,
Yeah. You do that too?
Yeah,
Delivery?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's my wife and I, my wife Amy, the Sunder, and myself. And Amy does basically all the hard stuff,
Okay.
event planning, and
The hard stuff?
Yeah, the money side of things. Yeah, well, I mean, the stuff
Oh, yeah.
that stuff that requires some
Thinking.
and forethought. Exactly. Yes, and I'm more of a
Yeah.
swinging the wrench and
Yeah, exactly.
crawling around the roof kind of guy, but so it's it'll be interesting to get those bottles done just to see if that's an easier way to do it or not.
Right.
And the plan is to sell about half of them out of the tasting room anyway.
Oh, okay.
I find a lot of times when people come to the tasting room, they're on the walking tour
Oh, okay.
and picking up a glass growler at every stop is
That
just
gets a little heavy.
Yeah, it's too much. And then you get home and you've got 132 ounces of beer or whatever, and it's just
Well,
it's
some
a
people
lot.
can do that.
Some people can do
Yeah.
that, but for most people, especially like we get the cycle saloon here.
Okay.
Have you seen this? The big bike that everybody drinks on.
Yep.
And when you're on the cycle saloon, you can have a bottle of beer
Right.
on the bike, and people don't want a growler; they just want to grab a bottle of it
Right.
and share with everybody.
Yeah.
So
That's cool.
we'll see how it goes.
So where's the name come from?
It's hard to name a thing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I spent a long time kind of just looking at different things, the different Seattle type things.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want, I didn't want it to be too hyper local. Like I didn't want it to be 49th Street Brewing.
Okay.
Because what happens when you move?
Right.
So I was looking at Seattle stuff. I was looking at the World's Fair.
Mm-hmm.
The Space Needle, all of that, and we've got a lot of good examples of Googie architecture in the Seattle area. We used to have the old Denny's up on Market in 15th, which is now Five Guys. But that old Denny's was a really cool old Googie building, and Populuxe is another name for Googie style architecture. And it's that mid-century modern design aesthetic, popular and deluxe. Populuxe.
Okay.
And that's an aesthetic I've always enjoyed, and I felt like that would be a really nice way to sort of unify the brand around a look and feel that I was into. And since I named the brewery before we had the building, in my mind, it was this sort of spacious, brewery up front, bowling alley in the back kind of situation where,
that's the future, right?
It was the future. So, and I like it. I mean, it's very optimistic too. It's very, forward-thinking, positive on Populuxe. And it doesn't nail me down
right
here. And it's fun to say.
Is that why the logo is kind of?
Yeah, it's sort of space age, Jetsony, the Atom.
Yeah.
I like the look, and I think it, again, 5 years ago, thinking about a bottle label, I thought it would look cool, and there's different cool things that you can do with that.
Right.
In their beer names, things like that.
Right.
You
Speaking of,
get creative with.
Yeah. Beer names.
Yes.
Difficult to come up with new names?
Yes, yeah. And not only difficult to come up with new names, but because we're a chalkboard brewery, and our beers change a lot, in the beginning, I wasn't really thinking about it too much, because I would brew a brown, and then I would put the brown on, and then I would stand in front of the chalkboard and literally think for about 10 seconds, what am I going to call this brown? And so there's quite a few beers on there. The Cinder Block CDA, right?
You're looking at the wall?
I'm looking at the wall, right? Okay, walls with a Cinder Block CDA. Like, just that much effort went into it. Yeah.
That's
one
good.
of our we have a founders club, which is like a mug club, and you can get whatever you want on your glass, because we etch the glasses with our names.
Okay, nice.
And one of the guys got Beer Snob on his glass. And he was the next guy in line, and I was like, hey man, what am I going to call this brown? He's like, call it Beer Snob Brown. I'm like, okay. And then people come in and ask for that beer, and that's the name now. It's stuck, and I didn't realize that at first. So anyway, we've got some funny names in there because of that.
That's good. That's fun.
Organic.
Yeah.
I call it organic marketing. It's not...
Well, one of the important questions we like to ask a lot of brewers is, what makes your beer different than everybody else?
Well, essentially, it's me. I make it different than everybody else's, and I think that comes from the fact that having, like I said, brought this brewery up organically over time. My brewing philosophy has always been to do the best I can with the raw materials that I have.
Okay.
In other words, have the raw materials in front of me and know how I'm going to get, how am I going to tease the best possible beer that I can get out of these raw materials. And anytime that something, if I'm not doing that, then I'm sort of disrespecting all the hard work and effort that got those materials in front of me, and that got me here to be able to do that. And so that's always the forefront in my mind, is, am I doing right by all the effort that got me to today? Because if I'm not, then I'm wasting my time, and I'm wasting other people's time, which would be even worse. Because if you're not really focusing on the quality of the beer, then you're not in this for the right reason. And so that's always been kind of my goal here and my effort, and I think that shows in the glass. That's about it.
No, that's good.
I told you I'd practice that question, but I lied.
That's good. I don't think I've heard something like that before. That's interesting. That you really think about the raw materials in a different way, I think.
Yeah, and so
because somebody took time to grow those.
Right, exactly.
Those products.
Yeah, and then and somebody took time. I invested money, so all the beer that I've brewed previously has gone into making this beer today because I needed that beer to bring revenue into the business so that I could buy these hops that somebody went and grew and then shipped from Yakima to here. And so, yeah, I mean, I always think about the supply chain and everybody that's, part of that process along the way.
Right.
Because ultimately that leads to the consumer enjoying the beer.
Yeah.
And so that's, if you screw that up, then everybody else kind of, impacts them as well.
This IPA is good.
Thanks.
And it is definitely 6%.
Yeah.
I can taste that. But,
yeah, the IPA is, that, besides the CDA, I brew the IPA a lot too.
Yeah.
Basically, when I was homebrewing, that's what I was known for, was just these hoppy beers.
Yeah.
Because that's what I enjoyed drinking. And a lot of people will say, well, I don't brew an IPA, or we only brew 2% sour beers here, and we'll never brew an IPA. I like IPAs.
Well, exactly.
So I mean, when I thought about getting into the business and thought about what kind of beer I'd like to brew, then one of the first beers that came into my head were hoppy beers, because that's what I like. And I'm like, if I can make up my own hoppy beer on my own, then I'm doing it right. Now, of course, I understand that lighter beers, your Kolsch's, your lagers, your things like this, those are your canaries in the coal mine. If you can't make that really well, then you probably can't make. You're hiding something in your IPA.
Exactly.
But
because those ones you can't make a lot of mistakes with.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but what I drink is hoppy beers.
Yeah. So not all your beers are hoppy, though, right?
No, not at all. And I I say that's what I drink. I enjoy those beers, but I enjoy all beer, right? I'll enjoy a 2% sour, whatever. I enjoy beer. I enjoy drinking beer and thinking about how it was made, and everything about the process. And that's basically all beers. Macro lagers don't interest me all that much, to be honest with you. There's not much to think about with a, Coors Light. Okay, well, I don't taste the beechwood,
Well, they have their new throwback bottles now.
Oh,
so that's
good, yeah.
That gives you a reason to buy it.
You really think about the ad guys behind that.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, we don't. Not all of our beers are hoppy.
Right.
I've got a nitro mild on right now.
Okay.
It's dark mild, which not a lot of people are brewing. It's an English session ale,
Okay.
It's malt forward, and I enjoy that beer too. So it really depends on mood, and I'm also a seasonal beer guy.
Okay.
Which is good and bad, because when it's cold out, you think, boy, what kind of beer would I like right now? Well, I'd like a stout. And then you start thinking about stouts, and then you're like, you know what, I'm going to brew a stout. And then you look at the calendar, and you're like, oh, this stout's going to be ready in March. Somebody will enjoy this stout in March. So, getting ahead, calendaring, that kind of thing. It's you got to think about that too.
Yeah.
But, I like all kinds of beer.
We saw a few awards up on the wall when we came in.
Yes.
So what have you won those for?
Basically, the Washington Beer Awards. I need to get better at submitting our beers to competition. It's funny, listening to the podcast, I can always tell the difference between an owner and a brewer. Oh, yeah. Because the brewer is like, competitions, the beer is good. And because I'm both those people, right? There's always a struggle in my head. I'm thinking, well, what do I need to do that for? I know the beer is good. Plus I gotta bottle it, now I gotta ship it somehow. I could be doing something else. This is silly. I've got I need to check on my glycol chiller. I need to dry hop stuff. I should be all these other things I should be doing as a brewer. But then as a business owner, I have to think, the awards and the recognition is important for the business. And I don't always think that way, because sometimes I think, well, do people really look at the medals on the wall, and does that really impress them? Because to me, that's not, when I walk into a brewery and I see a bunch of medals on the wall, I still just want a beer. I get the beer.
Right.
It's the beer is what impresses me. It's not.
But you
really.
Being a brewer and an owner, it might be different than a normal person.
Right, yeah. But then I see other people at other breweries, and they're like, look at all the awards. And I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe it does impact perception.
Yeah.
Maybe it is a good way to market beer. Again, because I'm
definitely.
not a marketer,
Exactly, yeah.
And then so I go in the store and I see people have the little medals on their labels and stuff like that. So, okay, maybe as an owner I should be thinking more strategically about these things. So in the past, all we've done is submit to Washington Beer Awards because, because it's local and I don't have to ship them anywhere. And Mark Emily's a nice guy, and you just drive the bottles over there and drop them off. But this year I think we're going to try and do more of that, more submitting to
Are you going to submit beers to style or what?
Well, so that's hard because... All right, well, here's the thing about competitions and submitting beer to competitions. It's like the verbal portion of the SAT, right? It's not the math side. There's no empirically correct answer to the question that's being asked. It's subjective. You can probably answer those questions by thinking to yourself, what does the question asker want to hear? And with beer judging, the question asker is the judge. And the question is, usually, is this beer to style? The problem with that is that human beings are doing the judging. And so...
There's going to be some subjectiveness.
There's the style guideline, and then there's the zeitgeist, right? Yeah. So, like the CDA that I was talking about. The CDA that I make here... I don't know that it would do well in competition because as I try other people's CDAs, that style seems to be coalescing around a much darker, roastier, bigger, what I would consider imperial black IPA type of beer. And when you're judging, even though if you have one beer that is exactly to style and you've got 4 other beers that are much more bitter, much more darker, much bit higher alcohol, a judge looking at that lineup is going to see 5 beers, 4 of them pretty close, and 1 outlier. And so the first thing they're going to say is, well, that's the outlier, so now I'm judging between these 4. Even though the one that they move away, like the outlier might be actually to style. So when you think about submitting beers to judging, you have to think about what does the question asker want to hear with this beer? And sometimes it's you want to be the outlier because if they've been drinking red, malty red beers all day, and then you throw in something that's hoppy or dry hopped or something a little bit different or refreshing, that's going to get you third or second. It might not get you first, but they're going to be like, these all taste the same. I like this one. Of these ones that taste the same, this one's probably the best. But number 2 is this one that doesn't taste anything like these. So you always have to think about like the way that people judge beers and the way that And for me, it's not like I don't brew for competition. You can brew for competition when you think about that stuff all the time. But I don't brew for competition. Basically, I brew everything that I want, whatever I want, and then I stare at the beers that I have, and I figure out which one I think would do well in competition, and submit those.
And your CDA sells well, right?
The CDA sells well, but I just don't know if it would do well.
But your customers like it, right?
Right, yeah. So it doesn't matter to me, but I probably wouldn't, send that to GABF or something like that because... I like the beer. Customers love the beer.
Exactly.
But I don't know that the style is...
Right.
That would be the outlier on the table.
Right.
So... Yeah.
So this So how far is your distribution now? You say you only do like 15% kegs?
Well, it's funny because, 15% kegs. We do, most of our distribution is right here in Ballard.
Okay.
I go as far as Soto, and as far north as Northgate.
Okay.
So I'll run a keg up to Watershed every now and then. We'll get our beer on up there. That's about as far north as I go.
So the bottles are definitely going to send you a little further.
Yeah, I think so, maybe, but I'm looking to stay pretty local with those too. So I know Greg up at Ballard Beer Company will be able to take some of those, and Kiss Cafe, we go there all the time for lunch, and they've got a nice bottle list, so they'll take some. I've actually had more and more restaurants starting to actually inquire about bottles. I think it's just easier for them to get bottles and offer a lengthy bottle list as opposed to having to deal with half-barrel kegs and storing them and that kind of thing.
Nice. So you're going to do like bomber size?
Yeah, bomber size 22s. Yeah. Okay. It's just the best price point and the easiest way to get, and it's what everybody's geared for, like shelving and stuff, shelf space. I made a point of asking retailers, before we went with the bottles, are cans a possibility? And basically what they said was, we have more shelf space for bottles than we do for cans, and so if we're going to squeeze you in to the store, it's easier to bump somebody off the shelf with a bottle than it is with a can. Not that I want to bump somebody off the shelf, but I mean that's the way they're looking at ways to shuffle product around, and so so that'll be good.
Nice. So that's a whole nother thing there. Rotating tap handles, shelf space. I mean that's that's something that you're going to be getting into more.
That's why I hope the bottles do well. It's so funny because, like Mike Hale was saying, it's the rotating taps are what keeps everybody in business. Yeah. But it is annoying too because
because you're like number 23 on that. Roll through.
Yeah, and if I've got someplace that's that's taking a beer of mine fairly reliably, and then they stop or they switch it up to something else. It just, as a brewer, kind of impacts my production schedule, right? But that's not why I'm here. I'm not here to have somebody else make my life easy, right? I'm here to sell beer,
right?
And so I think Mike was absolutely right that the rotating tap handles are good for the business. What I think concerns me a little bit is when I go someplace and people ask me, what do you have that's barrel aged? What do you have that's sour? And I'm like, well, I don't have any room for any of that stuff, right? So like, I'm not much. So beer, I have beer, delicious beer, but it's fresh beer. It's not. I'm not aging stuff for a really long time. I don't do a ton of barley wines. I don't do. Like the funky sours, I have the one barrel, and that gets poured here, or that doesn't go out.
Now, is that something you'd want to do if you had a bigger space? If you'd want to do more different?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely. I'm more of a bourbon barrel kind of guy than I am, the sour stuff. I like sours. I like Berliner Weisses. I think sour beers are great in the summer. They're really refreshing. But when I think about the time and investment and everything that goes into barrel aging a beer, I want something for winter, like I want something big and round, so I would definitely want to do more of that stuff. It makes me jealous when I drive by the new Fremont building and I see all the...
You see it in the window.
Dark Star, it's like all these barrels.
Whole window full.
Like, wow, I can't even get a forklift in here, let alone... So, that's what kills me too, is when listening to the podcast is when other brewers complain about space. Yeah. Makes you want to jump right through my earbuds and strangle them. Like, come on. Yeah. You don't know about space issues.
Yeah, man. Exactly. But you've got, with your like beer garden area, you've got a lot of space when the weather's nice.
Yeah. And what I tell people all the time is that the way the brewery's set up, I save a lot of money on hoses, right? Because they're all 10 feet long.
Yeah, exactly.
So, But yeah, no, having the beer garden means that we can have more people in here, and having the shipping container means being able to, keg storage. That's the other thing, it's everything just grows and grows and grows. And so I've been thinking about getting bright tanks in here, serving tanks.
Okay.
Just because it's going to save me the space of that many kegs and having to wash that many kegs and flip them and all that. So
you got a party going on.
Cycle saloon may have pulled up. That's what it sounds like. Space is just and I don't even know what I would do if I had more space. That's the thing. It's kind of like the way we opened with the barrel and a half. It's like, well, we're just going to get the brewery open. And if I have more space, what would I do with it? Probably just think, what would it be nice to have? Okay, we'll get some of that, and that kind of thing. It's just a organic process to.
So, I know you said you'd like to keep it debt free.
Yeah.
So, is there a goal
to a point?
Well, sure. I mean, is there a goal down the road to possibly move to a bigger space?
Well, we've got the lease here for another 4 years.
Okay.
So that's good. That means I don't have to start looking for a new space for another year. I just don't. Eventually, this is never going to be a production brewery.
Right.
And so what I really want to do is just maximize the space that we have now. And so I have to try and focus on that. I really like this community. I really like where this place is. Everybody, all of our customers like it here. They like the fact that there's a beer garden. They like coming down here. I live 2 blocks away.
That's a big deal.
So that's really great. And the goal of Populuxe has always been to to make Seattle a better city, right? Not business comes sort of second. If I'm not making good beer and contributing to the beer community and contributing to my community in general, then I'm not doing it right here. And so, beer is community, and for a lot of people, especially with the new construction that's going in, this becomes their backyard. And so people come down here, they hang out, and moving to a bigger facility would make things a lot easier on me. It would also kind of, if we left this space, be disappointing to people. And I enjoy this space too.
Right.
As hard as it is to work here and make a business here, I do enjoy the fact that it's what it is.
That's your baby.
Yeah.
I mean,
but man, wouldn't it be great to have a building that was insulated, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that other brewers usually look at me like I'm crazy. Like I was saying, other people's business. Are you trying to figure out other people's business? I tell people, I actually have 4 passes on my glycol because for half of the year I have to heat my glycol. I don't chill it.
Yeah.
I have to keep the beer warm because there's no insulation. I'm brewing outside effectively. My roof is plastic.
Yeah.
It's metal and plastic,
But you have sunlight coming through.
Oh, it's lovely. Yeah, no, it's so there's definitely a vibe here in the building that's different than other breweries. Unintentional.
You're not the big shiny place.
No, exactly. And would I lose something if I was that?
Exactly.
I don't know.
But
I would lose the glycol heater is what I'd lose.
Yeah,
but
that might be something you'd be all right with.
Yeah, absolutely. So.
But is there ever a point where it's too busy and people are turned away or leave because of that?
Yeah. Well, no. It all depends. It's it doesn't take much to pack the place, so that's nice. Sometimes this many people in a big cavernous tasting room. You'd think, wow, this place isn't doing very much business.
Yeah, exactly.
But here, a dozen people makes it look like it's banging, So that's kind of nice. The issue is that because the way their tasting room's set up, we don't have multiple stations. It's just one bartender, one bar. Right. He can only pour beer so fast, and what ends up happening is that the line will actually go out the door and down the block, which is great in the summertime because if I see people lined up out the door, then I know it's hot, it's happening, it's busy, and it looks good. But in the winter, I'm like, oh, that stinks, and people are standing in the rain.
Yeah.
And so I think
It's Seattle, though.
It is Seattle, yeah, exactly.
Standing in the rain, they should be all right.
Right, yeah. Should be used to it by now. And then I think that sort of,
right.
It affects people's perception of us
right.
as a summer place too sometimes.
Yeah.
Which it's what it is. It's built the best brewery I could with the building that I had.
Right.
Kind of thing. So, but yeah, I think about moving or growing and how that's going to work, and I think for the moment we just need to focus on where we are and make this the best experience that it can be for folks.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Very cool.
And focus on the beer, obviously, yeah.
Yeah. Well, people keep coming back because of the beer.
Right.
That's the bottom line, right?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, you were asking about the medals. We did get a gold for the CDA in 2014.
Okay.
And then 2015 we got gold for the Old Ale. So Imperial Mild, basically.
Okay.
The Old Ale is just a big malty English beer, which I really was happy with that because we beat the Old Scrooge from Silver City, which is a great beer. That's a phenomenal beer. So I was really surprised when we got that gold for the Old Ale. And then our red, the Citra Red, got a bronze that
nice.
year. So yeah, just keep focusing on the beer and make this a pleasant experience,
Yeah, definitely.
So
cool.
That's the plan. And then possibly maybe get an assistant brewer this year would be nice. Mm-hmm. Right now, there's a single point of failure. I realized this when I blew my knee out. That there's a single point of failure here.
Yeah,
it's me.
yeah.
If I'm not able to drag kegs across the gravel and do everything else, it's not gonna. It doesn't future-proof us to have that. So, and I still work my day job.
Oh, okay.
So,
well, there you go. So you still have your laptop.
This is how you. Yeah, I still have my laptop. Yeah, that's how you build a brewery with no debt, folks.
There you go.
Don't pay yourself anything.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks very much. Appreciate
Thank you.
your time.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for Peter from Populuxe for joining us today. Great interview. We will be right back after a local music break from the masses.
That was Dreamweaver featuring Chantel Renee by The Masses. You can check them out at themassesmusic.bandcamp.com. If you want to have your music played on Northwest Brew Talk, contact us today. And now, let's try another beer. This time we have Vanishing Point from Ghostfish Brewing.
All right, and this was a gift from Ghostfish. We must tell them that. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much. Ghostfish Brewing is located in Seattle and just celebrated their 1-year anniversary. They are now family-friendly and make gluten-free beers. The Vanishing Point Pale Ale deftly balances assertive hop flavor and bitterness with a crisp malty body. The millet malt base coaxes unique flavors out of Washington-grown Warrior, Chinook, Palisade, and Cascade hops and contributes to a refreshing bready sweetness. ABV 4.9%, 63 IBUs. And this was also an award winner. U.S. Open 2015. They took home the gold medal in gluten-free beer.
That's right. And we're going to have an interview in a few weeks with two of the owners and founders of Ghostfish.
Yes, and quite the brewery there that we got to check out.
Yeah, very nice. We visited them over the weekend. And this is a copperish color beer. And again, like they told us, most of their customers actually are... Okay, so it's called Pale Gold, according to them. Pale Gold, copperish. I guess it's a little lighter than copper. But,
yeah, a little bit.
They told us that most of their customers aren't even gluten-free. They come because they like the beer.
And you can understand that because their beer is good. I like this a lot.
Yeah, let me try this now.
And we got to the chance to try a bunch of their beers, which you'll hear on the interview, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a good beer.
Yeah, nice hoppy flavor. It's good.
Yeah, this is... I mean, especially when they explain how it's made, where there's no wheat, no barley, and you can get this great flavor that you would not expect. This is good. You get a little bitterness in there.
Yes, if you are missing beers because you had to go gluten-free,
miss
no more. Check out Ghostfish. They make some good beer there.
Yeah, definitely. We had tried one of theirs early last year, but I think this is like light years ahead of what they were doing back then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, this is good stuff.
Definitely.
I want you to get me fresh beer. You serious?
This week's fresh beer is on tap at Beardslee Public House. Their Shea Irish Stout is a light-bodied ale with a silky smooth mouthfeel from being dispensed with nitrogen gas, accompanied by flavors of roasted malt, coffee-like bitterness, and a hint of chocolate at the finish. Irish Stouts, also known as dry stouts, are known for their drinkability. The style was made famous from Guinness Brewery in Ireland. Shea is a narrow-gauge steam locomotive adapted to logging and noted for its agility and indestructibility. On tap through March, 5.3 ABV and 34 IBUs.
Awesome. And before we wrap it up tonight, just wanted to say both of our beers tonight had lower than average ratings on Untapped, which kind of surprised us, especially the Ghostfish, because this is pretty good beer. And
I'm not quite sure what's up with that. 3.27, which I mean, it's not a terrible rating, but it's lower than we typically see.
Yeah, like we were talking off air, possibly an earlier version that has changed. Maybe it had lower ratings because of that. Not too sure, but this is definitely some good stuff. And if you haven't tried Ghostfish before, or if you haven't tried them in a while, we suggest that you definitely try them again.
Yeah, give them another try because they're good, making good beers over there.
Yep, definitely. All right, and that brings us to the end of this episode of Northwest Brew Talk.
Make sure you tune in next week when we chat with Kevin from Flying Bike.
This show is produced and edited by me, with engineering help from Michelle Rizzo.
And if you want to contact us, you can email us at nwbrewtalk@gmail.com or on Twitter at nwbrewtalk. Our theme music is from Gilbert Neal at gilbertneal.com.
Until next time, I'm Mike Rizzo.
And I'm Michelle Rizzo.
Stay hoppy, my friends.
Hopefully there's enough usable,
The whole thing is going to be usable.
intelligent blather that
We're
you
using
can piece
all of
together
it. We're using it from beginning to
5
end.
minutes of show.
We're using it from one end to
Okay,
the other.
well,
You know how the show
sound
goes.
like an idiot. Well, yeah, that's not all. I'm sure. I just assumed that it was 4-hour interviews, and there's all this post production that went into it. No, okay.
No, that's it. Thanks, Peter.